Tonight, a bus accident leaves a number of passengers injured. The CSA warns the government not to push health workers to the point of abandoning the sick to agitate on their own behalf. And the National Security Minister supports an investigation into whether he flouted COVID-19 protocols. The details of these stories and more coming up.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Lovelace and Amy Joseph.
Good night. It is Wednesday, the 2nd of June, 2021. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. I'm Lovely St. Amy Joseph. Thank you for joining us. Passengers who were traveling on a bus on Wednesday morning were left with multiple injuries following an accident. The bus reportedly veered off the road at Tiroshe Miku. Miku was the chaotic scene of a bus accident involving 14 passengers. The call to the Miku fire station on Wednesday morning indicated that multiple people were trapped inside an overturned bus. Residents and emergency personnel rushed to the scene to render assistance. Acting lead fireman 451 Jabatis of the Miku fire station spoke from the scene of the accident.
This morning at approximately 7:30 a.m. we were summoned to the base of the Mount Kenge hill at Bosha in Mikud, where the report that we received indicated a minibus had gone out of control and veered off the roadway, and it was fully loaded and there was a possibility of multiple persons being trapped. So Mikud Fire Station immediately responded with our fire appliance and the ambulance, and we also sought for assistance from all of the other stations who subsequently responded. That mentioned Mikud Fire Station, Henry Fire Station, Crash Fire Hall, to assist us on the scene.
The fire officer confirmed that some of the passengers were school children. He says there was a commendable joint effort on the scene to ensure that people were freed.
On the scene, we were faced with a mass casualty situation, and we sought to get into action immediately because it was apparent that there were at least 3 persons trapped within the minibus. We were eventually able to successfully extricate them. There were multiple injuries varying from abrasions to minor lacerations all the way to fractures of extremities. Of course, there are other injuries we will not be able to ascertain at this time. We remain grateful to a community member known as Mr. Bruce Augustine, who for the umpteenth time has come to the aid of the fire service in his own generous way by assisting us with his heavy equipment in enabling a successful extrication.
Fortunately, he says everyone was transported to hospital in stable condition.
I can say at this time that we cannot report any death. Number one, as fire service, we're not in a position to claim death, but to the best of my knowledge, all persons who were involved in the incident were transported to the St. Jude Hospital.
Emergency responders transported 10 occupants of the vehicle to hospital. 4 others arrived at the St. Jude Hospital by private means. The Civil Service Association CSA is railing against what it says is undue pressure and intimidation of healthcare workers to get them to sign contracts to facilitate the transition to the Millennium Heights Medical Complex. The CSA continues to advise members to hold off on signing those contracts and warns that the employer is playing along dangerous lines, as the CSA would hate to see the sick be left behind for workers to push their personal agenda regarding conditions of work. The Civil Service Association is making it clear there will be no letting up on the call for dialogue as it relates to the transition to the Millennium Heights Medical Complex. The association says the issues surrounding terms of employment are no small matters and cannot simply be glossed over by the Ministry of Health or the government.
What we are currently experiencing with our members now is a situation where a lot of our members are coming to us indicating that the board currently is placing tremendous pressure on them to sign the contracts, and telling them that if they don't sign, they won't get pay. If they don't sign, they will not get a place, and all sorts of things that plays in the mind of the worker, because obviously if the worker has a contract and it's a short-term contract and it's coming to an end and you don't know what would happen to you tomorrow, then what do? Should I sign or should I wait for the union? The question is a very difficult one to answer. So some of the workers feel so stressed out that they go ahead and they sign. Now, even after they sign, they still have concerns about the future.
CSA President Cyprian Montrup says the current situation is detrimental to the productivity of the health sector. Interestingly, he notes that as mental pressure begins to weigh down workers, they may be more susceptible to making errors that affect the public. The comment is pregnant with meaning, given the current reports within the public domain regarding alleged malpractice against some hospital staff.
It cannot be for those workers to be going through that and for the employer to expect that those employees will be able to perform above and beyond the call of duty. That must have an impact on their ability to produce effectively. And we may well see the fatigue is kicking in on them, which may lead to mistakes being made. And of course, who's the one suffering? It is the public who have to access the service. Me, who have to access the service.
Montrup says he would hate to see the matter fester into a major industrial impasse.
The employers are playing a very, I don't even know how to put it. It's playing around dangerous lines, because the workers at OKEU, I have watched them and I can see their passion and love for what they do. And the people that they care for, which is the public, they have passion and love for all of those people. And it would hurt their heart to be away from there, looking at somebody who is sick on a bed, or somebody who's entering the hospital or the polyclinic or health center, sick, and you cannot attend to that person. You can well understand where that would lead to. And so, it is not an area that the union would want to go at all with the health sector. We believe the answer is in social dialogue, and that is why we are asking the powers that be to have that discussion. The powers that be are fully aware that if the workers were to leave the sick behind to push their personal agenda, which is the conditions of work, they view that as being very serious, and if the workers were to do it, I'm sure they're going to come down very hard on those workers to blame them for all those persons who may die as a result of them not being present to do the work. And they're fully aware of that, and in that view, they are taking full advantage of those workers. And I'm calling on the government and them as the employer, please, let that not be the situation.
The CSA says it hopes good sense will prevail and the process of discussion and engagement on the Millennium Medical Heights complex transition can begin in earnest. National Security Minister Herman Gill Francis has said that if he is found to be in contravention of COVID-19 protocols, he will accept the responsibility for his actions. He says a police investigation is warranted to determine the facts of the matter, but he hastened to add that such things do happen, explaining that the photo that has been making the rounds on social media was him accepting an invitation to a lunch. National Security Minister Herman Gill Francis has been accused of flouting the very COVID-19 protocols that he has been urging and begging citizens to adhere to. Following a photo of the minister at a social function, there has been an outcry that the minister was out having a good time with no care about group numbers. Some members of the public have called it the height of hypocrisy and double standards, given that citizens face the brunt of the law and the fury of COVID wardens for protocol breaches, while they say the National Security and Justice Minister was free to indulge regardless of the protocols. On Tuesday morning, Minister Francis addressed the matter during a talk show.
I don't really want to go
Not too much about it, but
I still believe that persons are of the opinion that I did something wrong, and I think the police should investigate.
Okay.
Go out there and investigate. If they find that I'm wrong, then I'm willing to accept whatever responsibility it is. But these things happen.
Yeah.
You have friends and a friend invited me and told me that he was going to have a lunch
Yes.
for his dad. I felt that I should go. I went with my wife, and when I got there was a certain amount of people. I felt comfortable. I stayed, had lunch, and then when the crowd started, I told my wife, well, we have expired our invitation and we'll go.
Yeah.
I told the host that I was leaving.
Yeah.
He is disappointed, but I left.
The minister took issue with what he said was the surreptitious recording of a conversation on the matter.
Been involved will
yes.
call you. I say, Oman Gill, well, this is the situation. What can you say about it? You say, well, Pete, I can't speak to you about this matter now because the police still investigating.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
on. But you tell me, just give me an idea. Off the record, I'm not recording, I'm not doing anything. And I would tell him. And he'll tell you thanks. The same can be said for Rick. The same can be said for my brother Claudius. The same can be said for Sheffield Gaylord. The same can be said for Rochelle Gonzalez and these people at Hot FM. And so you try to develop that rapport with somebody, with a journalist. And so when somebody calls you and says, can you give an interview? And you said, no, you're not willing to do that.
Yeah.
Person said, well, just tell me, okay, if you're going to record me, the ethical thing to do is to tell me that you are recording.
Right.
Minister Francis argues that part of public life is interacting with the public and maintaining connections, and the photo op, he says, was his attempt at doing just that. You're watching the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Stay with us. Still to come, the Electoral Department calls on citizens to ready themselves for elections. The National Workers' Union indicates full support to the government in reopening the tourism sector and applauds what it says are bold initiatives. And a teen goes viral after pushing a bear off a ledge to save her dogs.